The Uganda Martyrs, remembered 3rd of June. On the 3rd of June, the Anglican Church, along with many other Christian denominations, remembers a group of 45 young men killed because of their Christian faith between 1885 and 1887. Collectively, they are known as the Uganda Martyrs. Their stories are tied up with the politics of their region, the interplay of rulers, families, and individuals, and with the wider imperial scramble for Africa. However, it must be remembered that in the context of all of these are the lives of 45 individuals who did not seek to die or to harm others, but found that when the times pressed, they valued their faith more than their lives. In the kingdom of Buganda, in what is now a region of modern-day Uganda, there was an influx of missionaries in the 1880s. The missionary groups were made up of largely French Catholics, English Anglicans, and Arab Muslims. Each group had some success making new converts to Christianity or Islam, respectively. Some converts were even found amongst the royal court. At various points, each group was persecuted. Whether this was done due to internal politicking, or fear of imperial influence, personal feeling, or a mixture of some or all of these, is still a point argued over by historians. However, the stories of the Uganda martyrs comes into focus on the ascension of King Mwanga. He came to international attention when he ordered the assassination of the Anglican missionary and bishop James Hannington. Hannington was travelling to Buganda on the invitation of the king. However, changing policy and fear of German imperial expansion on the coast caused Mwanga to have Hannington and his party seized and imprisoned. Possibly he was also troubled by the prediction that the conquerors of his kingdom would come from the east, the direction that Hannington was approaching from. After 8 days of imprisonment, their porters were killed. On the 9th day, Hannington was killed by being struck through with a spear on both sides. Reportedly, his last words were, "Go tell Mwanga, I have purchased the road to Uganda with my blood." Some Christian chiefs and court officials who objected to this murder were themselves beheaded. However, the main cause for King Mwanga's persecutions came not from international politics or his own religious feeling. Many of the pages to the court, traditionally young men who served the king in his household, had begun to convert to Christianity. Traditionally, the king had complete power of life and death over all of his subjects, who lived according to his will, something that many absolute rulers have tried to enforce through history and around the globe. One part of this was that the king traditionally enjoyed complete sexual dominance over the young pages of his court. When they began to deny him sexually and refuse those to whom he offered them as gifts, the king was enraged and felt that this act challenged his rule and his authority. Through the centuries, the Christian faith, with its teachings for individual life and the way one should try to live it, whether we are in power or in slavery, and the idea that if Christ has died for us, we must ourselves be worth something, has caused upset and anger to many who felt that they and their desires outweighed those of others, or that they could own another person, both body and soul. The dam burst when the king was refused by his favourite page, who confessed that he had been learning about Christianity from another page in the court. This other page was summoned to the king, who thrust a spear through his neck for robbing him of his favourite and most obedient toy, as he put it. The royal household was summoned, and the king told those who prayed to stand to one side, to sort out the Christians. They did so, with all being under 25, and the youngest amongst them 13. They were joined by 2 already in prison and 2 soldiers. Asked if they intended to remain Christians, they replied, "Till death," Then put them to death, the king commanded. The men were marched to the place of execution 37 miles away. 3 who could not keep up were killed on the route. The rest were imprisoned, whilst a huge fire was built for them. On Ascension Day, the 3rd of June 1886, they were wrapped in reed matting and thrown onto the pyre before it was lit. All of them were alive when the fire was lit beneath them, except for one young man, killed beforehand on the order of his father, who was also the chief executioner. There followed a wave of persecutions of both Catholics and Protestants. The Catholic martyrs were eventually made saints, marked with a solemn Tridentine Mass in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, which would be the last time the old Latin rite was used for this purpose there. All the Christian martyrs are remembered today. Churches have been built in their memory in Uganda and across the world. It is easy to see their lives, faith, and their deaths in the context of wider issues, but really each one is the story of a person who tried to live as a Christian, faithful to Christ and in the light of God, no matter what the world threw at them. The Uganda Martyrs are remembered on the 3rd of June.